Happy Sabbath. Welcome back to a chapter day. I pray that you all had a blessed week. And again, I always say, hold on, whatever you didn't get last week or for this week is coming. The week has ended, but there are more to come. God's willing, God's mercies, God's blessings. So let's hope. That's all we have to live with, hope. Today I'm going to be reading Isaiah chapter 9. I don't know if I may venture into 10. I may just leave it at 9 and let that go. Okay? Depending. So, let's get started. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be as such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. Now remember again, we are reading about God's words through the prophet Isaiah to the children of Israel for their wrongdoing. They're sinning against God and not willing to turn away from their wrongdoings. So God is pronouncing all of these prophetic judgments on them. And this is what Isaiah is delivering to the people. So here are, afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, in Galilee of the nations. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. Thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For thou hast broken the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But they shall be with burning and fuel of fire. For unto us, now listen to this verse. I'm going to say this again. I do not know how people were able to connect some of these verses with what took place. I'm wondering if it happened after the fact. But right here where it's placed in Isaiah, I would never have put this as something to do with Jesus's coming or Jesus's birth. Verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. But again, I guess this was reiterated in the New Testament for Jesus' birth. So maybe that's how there was some sort of correlation. But for me as a reader, I would not, had they not had this section also included in the New Testament, I would not have made a correlation. But maybe the people back then had more knowledge of some of these things than I do now today. I believe so. Verse 7. Or did I read the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace? These are all Jesus's titles. Okay? All right. Verse 7. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with the judgment and justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The Lord sent a word unto Jacob, and it has lighted upon Israel. And all the people shall know, even Ephraim and the inhabitant of Samaria, that say in the pride and stoutness of heart, the bricks are fallen down, but we will build with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars. Therefore the Lord shall set up the adversaries of Rezin against him, and join his enemies together, the Syrians before and the Philistines behind, and they shall devour Israel with open mouth. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For the people turneth not unto him that smiteth them, neither do they seek the Lord of hosts. Therefore the Lord will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on their fatherless and widows. For every one is an hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. If we realize that verse has been repeated from several chapters before, that means that's not the end of God's judgment upon Israel. That's not the end of it. For all of these things that will happen, that's not the end of it yet. Verse 18. For wickedness burneth as the fire, it shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting up of smoke. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire, that means they shall burn. No man shall spare his brother. And he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall every man eat the flesh of his own arm. Mercy. Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim, Manasseh, and they together shall be against Judah. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. And there we end with that verse again. Despite all of these things that will come upon Israel, God's anger will not yet be kindled. So I say this, sometimes I hear people talk about they don't want to worship a God who will have people burning eternally, or whatever nonsense people come up with. Everlasting, eternal, forever are words that the Bible uses to denote a long time. I tell you, just yesterday I was hearing some atrocities that people went through during World War II. And the men who perpetrated these things on these people, you were trying to tell me that they will not get their just due when God is ready to judge? You trying to tell me they will go on scot-free? Some of the atrocious leaders that we've had in this world who have orchestrated some horrific things on other human beings, and you're trying to tell me that they are okay, they'll just die and move on, and their bones rot and they don't face a judgment? No such thing. And if you think to yourself that that's the type of God you don't want to worship, then too bad for you, because God is a just God. Maybe you have some things in your life that you need to confess and have God forgive, rather than think to yourself, well, I'm getting ready to burn. If you made up your mind to burn, then burn you will, whether it's forever or for a short time or long, whatever. God knows what he's doing. I am not going to sit back and say, I'm not going to worship a God who will have people burn forever. You know what? Some people deserve to burn forever. The evil things that they have done. And that's not the kind of God we serve. God knows exactly what he's doing as far as meting out rewards and meting out punishments. So if you want to sit back and only focus on the fact that there's going to be a hell, maybe it's because you think you're going to be in it, and that's why you're upset that God is going to have you burning forever. You think maybe you should just burn for 5 minutes. Don't want to burn. God is offering us salvation. He is not willing that any of us should perish. So don't set your mind up to burn and be upset that God will have you burn for a long time. Don't want to even burn for a short time. But that's how we are thinking. People just don't want to do what's right in God's sight and then be upset with God when we have consequences to face. Have mercy. But that's our reading for today, Isaiah chapter 9. I'm not going to read 10. It's too lengthy. So until our next reading, keep listening. That's how our faith comes and grows. Take care. Bye.